Good morning to all. I am Dr. K. Narendiran, a speech pathologist and audiologist based in Coimbatore. I was born in a village called Pangalore in Paladam Taluk of Tirupur district in Tamil Nadu. My father was a teacher and my mother was a farmland. She was taking care of it. And my grandfather, he owned a shop, and we lived with grandfather, grandmother, and all. At the age of 5 years, I went to a school called Pangalore Elementary School, and I studied there up to 5th standard. And my father was a teacher working in that school. And next, after 5 years, then I went to the Pangalore High School, which is managed by the same management. From home, it was about 2 kilometers, and we commute by walking. And there, from nearby villages also, students were coming, and it was a good interaction with all students. At that time, we did not have any big plans of a future. So just we were going to the school regularly and attending to the classes. And of course, up to my school final, it was in Tamil medium. And we did not have much of English or other languages. And the school was very good. It is managed by a private management. And we thank all the basic education what they gave. After completing my schooling at the age of 16 years, I had to go out of Pangalore to take up pre-university course. I chose Salem, which was about 200 kilometers from that place, and I went to Government Arts College, Salem, to do my pre-university course with physics, chemistry, and biology. And that gave me a scope to do studies except engineering. There, when I was a student, I attended an interview for airman training also. But unfortunately, I was not selected for it. So I continued with my, because I was more interested in Air Force at that time. And I could not make it. So after completing my pre-university courses, I had to think about joining a degree course. During my school days and colleges, pre-university, I was more interested in play activities, swimming, and interacting with other friends. That was the only aim. We did not have any other thinking in our mind. After pre-university, actually, I scored quite well in pre-university in chemistry. So I wanted to do my degree program in chemistry. But unfortunately, because my marks in other subjects were a little less, though I got distinction in chemistry, I was not offered the desired course. So I was very much upset, and I thinking that I will get admission in chemistry, I did not apply for other courses. So I had to wait for, I had to take a break at that year. And in that break, I did not spend idly. I joined a private company in Coimbatore called Premier Equipments and Agencies, which was dealing with industrial products and manufacturing industrial parts. And I worked as a clerk, which gave me good knowledge about accounting and letter drafting and other public relation, etc. Okay. When I was doing this type of work, every day I used to read the newspaper in the office, and once I saw the advertisement about the courses for speech and hearing, and I just applied for it. In between, I wanted to apply for a job, and I had sent all my certificates to Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, and I was preparing for that also. So my certificates were sent to Chennai. After applying for BSc Speech and Hearing, even I did not inform about my application even to my family members, because I was living in Coimbatore and my parents were in Pongalur. After a few weeks or one or 2 months, I received a letter from Mysore that I have been selected for that speech and hearing course. So till then, even I did not bother to inquire about what it was. And after receiving the letter, then only I thought that it may be about, because I did not link anything, I did not have any link between speech and our hearing sense. And I thought that it is something about the radio communication. And that's what I thought. Then anyway, I inquired with many doctors and other some of the educators here about that course. The subjects what we have in there is mainly medical subjects, of course, that they were telling. But about speech pathology, audiology, linguistics, psychology, these were not very familiar to the people whom I asked. So I did not have any confirmative clue about the possibility of this course. Then I thought that it was started only in 1966, and I was the 4th batch student. And it was also started by Government of India, because then only 2 institutes were giving this course. One was BOL Nair Hospital in Mumbai, and another is the Government of India run All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore. So because it was run by Government of India, I thought that the program will be quite good, and because it is 4th batch, I would get better job opportunities. So that's what I thought. And the added interest was they were giving stipend every month, 100 rupees per month. There was a quite good amount of money at that time, so that we not depend much on the family expenditure. So anyway, my certificates were stuck in Chennai. So immediately I dashed to Chennai and got the certificate within a day. And next day I made my visit to Mysore. And I was going alone only. I did not know any Kannada. And even in English I was not very familiar, because I studied all the education in Tamil medium, and a little bit of knowledge I had, but not able to converse with other people in English. And after reaching Mysore, after so many enquiries, I could reach a friend of mine in Mysore, and he took me to the institute, and we inquired about that. And there they said that you can join, but we don't have any hostel facility. Only girls were given hostel facility, and boys were not offered that. So I had a dilemma whether to join or not. But anyway, another friend of mine who joined in my class, he said that he is also from Tamil Nadu, Mr. Sai Krishna, and he said that both of us will take a room outside and we will stay there. And I said it is okay. Then I joined the course, and before me there were about 10 people who joined in that program. Totally the seats were 15. After me also a few people joined. Once we thought of taking a house and staying out, I said, okay, I will join the course. Okay. And at that time, only information what we could send to home was mainly the letters, and even the phone and all was not very popular at that time, and in our house also we did not have any phone. So I wrote a letter to my parents that I have joined this institute, and the first time actually we had to go to the library and give our credentials to the librarian and join. And when I looked into the library, it was amazing, and that was a very plus point what I could see in Mysore. And I joined the course, and I immediately went to the outside to search for the room, and I got it. And myself and Mr. Sai Krishna, we were staying together, and we cooked our own food because the hotels and all were not any close by. And the other classmates who joined in our program was Mr. Anantanarayan, Mr. G.D. Bishnoi, Mr. Bopanna, Mr. Darling Elangovan, Mr. K. Jayaram, Ms. Maithili, Ms. Premalata, Mr. Ramani, Mr. Rangasai, Mr. Sripadi Rao, Ms. Saraswati, Mr. Shanti Kiran, Ms. Vanaja, Ms. Saraswati, they all were my classmates. And I had a good time with all my classmates, and the teachers were also very good, because most of the teachers were they were educated in US and had their own pattern of teaching, and it was quite interesting, and it was quite different from what I had till then. But only one difficulty what I had was, all those years I studied in Tamil medium. Of course, PUC was in English. Other than that, in schooling was in Tamil. And it was difficult for me to follow initially the language part of it. Whatever subject was also new, and the language also was difficult, because in the first year, the professor of anatomy, physiology, pathology, actually these courses were taken by the professors in the medical college. They were teaching almost like as they teach the other students of medicine and other courses there. So that was really tough for us, and it took many months for us to accommodate to the demanding new situation. And slowly we got accustomed to that. And of course, the clinical work was involving mainly the observation of the senior students and our teachers. So that was not much of difficulty. And we were posted in the evenings in the clinics, and in the mornings it was in the theory class. At that time, Aish had only part of the building ready for its occupation, and the other part was taken for rent in Maharaja Centenary Hall. The morning we used to have theory classes up to 1 o'clock in the main Manas Gangotri campus. The campus was so beautiful, that was ideal for education. And Mysore city, it was had all the benefits of a city, and of course the village type also. So we had the benefit of both. And of course, I am from a rural area, and I enjoyed it quite well. We used to attend classes till noon. Then in the afternoon, in a minibus, we used to go to the clinic in the Maharaja Centenary Hall and attend patients there. That was in the city limit itself. After evening 5 o'clock, we were free, and we could go to the room and spend time with our friends. And there, in the first year, I met one Mr. Manoharan, who also hailed from Mettur in Tamil Nadu, and he was giving good guidance, support, and everything for us. I can say that not only then, from then on, even till today, he has been helping us quite a lot. I can say he is my mentor, he is a guide, and he is doing everything, not only for me, for many of our graduates and friends. He is helping a lot, and we are really happy to have had him as our senior and later as a colleague in my work. So we were involved in with the supervision. We were able to work in the clinical population in the second year of our BSc program. Apart from staff members, we had full-time clinical supervisors as Mr. Chandra, Mr. Balakrishna, Mrs. Mala, and Mrs. Ifat Aslam, and other staff members were working as clinical assistants. They were all staff members. They were all too good to meet the requirements of the students. Even in the medical record section also, Mr. Gurumurthy, others, they were really supportive to all the students. In the third year, we had mainly the core subject, that speech language pathology and audiology, along with its subdivisions as a neurological problem, or separate papers for stuttering and voice and other articulation like that. Okay. And really the program was very interesting, and the total strength of the college when I studied my BSc, it was only 69. 15 students every year for 3 years, that is 45, and 10 students for MSc in every year, that is 2 years, that is 20, and we had 3 pre-MSc students. So really we had, that was almost much less than a class what we had in our pre-university or other arts group classes, and it almost like a family, both in the class and in the college or clinic. We used to have good interaction even with our seniors. Of course, we were giving good respect to our seniors, and it was almost like a family setup there. And the teachers were also not like a regular college, the hierarchical stages. Almost they were moving as our friends. And some of the teachers, they were our immediate seniors who became the teachers later. Courses, the subjects were very interesting, and my favorite subject was audiology at that time. And the teacher who taught audiology was Dr. Vyasamurthy. He is a wonderful teacher, and similarly, we had the great lectures of Dr. Ratna, and really it was helpful to improve our thinking level, and not only lecture, but he is to stimulate our knowledge and thinking level. So that was a great part of Dr. Ratna, and we had other teachers, and when we were in BSc, actually Dr. Ratna was the head of speech pathology, and Dr. Nikam was our audiology head, and Dr. Bhartraj was our head of clinical psychology department. And of course, we had other staff members like Mr. SPC Pandale, Mr. Manohar, Mr. Shyamala Dharmaraj, Mr. Murthy, and many other teachers were Dr. N.P. Nantaraja, Mr. M.N. Hegde, and they were all our Miss A.D. Bhavani. They were all my teachers in the undergraduate level. Okay, and we used to have guest lectures by Professor Thirumalai, who was from Central Institute of Indian Languages. English also, Professor Durrani, And we used to have Kannada classes by Mr. Vyasamurthy, because that was the local language. Because it is an all Indian Institute of Speech and Hearing, we were many students from other parts of the country, and we did not know, have the knowledge of Kannada. So to have the working knowledge with the patients, we had to have that. So Dr. Vyasamurthy, on a honorary basis, he was teaching good Kannada to us. And then we learned to read, write and speak Kannada. And my favorite teacher was almost all, but I can mainly say Dr. Vyasamurthy and Dr. Ratna. At that time, the director in BSc program was one Dr. Dharmaraj. He is a ex-service man, and he was very strict in all his approach. And even we did not have the courage to talk to him directly on many occasions. But he was a very able administrator. After third year, we had the university exam, and on the basis of that, they gave us rank, and only out of 15, only 7 will be selected for MSc course. And luckily, I was one of the students selected for MSc course, and with us, actually there were other 3 students who came in lateral entry from pre-MSc. Along with our students, my classmates, I had one Mr. Ashok Kumar from Chennai, and Mr. Rajanand from Mumbai, and Mr. Chandra, who was already working as a clinical assistant in the department. So we 10 people, we joined MSc class. Then we had a group of junior students joining. Every year it was, the profile was changing, and anyway it was interesting. And when at that time, when I was in 3rd BSc itself, the whole clinic was shifted to Manasa Gangotri campus, and we did not have the work to go to the city every afternoon. First year and second year of BSc, we did not have hostel. In the third year, in the second year, last part, and third year, when we came, actually they offered, they constructed a few buildings for as quarters for staffs, and they gave that as a makeshift hostel for students. That was good enough for us to stay in the campus and spend time. We enjoyed the hostel stay, and it was a cosmopolitan group, and only about boys and girls, and actually 20 to 25 people in the gents hostel, and some were day scholars. And only in the hostel when we joined, then we used to spend time on play and games like that. And the popular game till then was only the table tennis in the campus itself. Then after that, we went in for ball badminton, and of course cricket. It was not played by many, but even one of my classmates, Mr. Narendiran, was a university player at that time. Sometimes we used to have matches, cricket matches in between ours and the regional college. It was just opposite us, and we took part in intercollegiate ball badminton tournaments. And I am happy that I was also one of the member participated for our institute. And Mr. Dattatreya and Valasava Suryanarayan Rao, they were also part of our team at that time. When I came to MSc, then our hostel, it was ready. And initially, in the first year, we were given the double room, and subsequently, we were given the single room. There also we could have learned quite a lot, like learning Hindi and all, but unfortunately we failed to do that, and I regret for it right now. And in the course of MSc, my dissertation was usefulness of CC test in identifying conductive thresholds, and under the supervision of Dr. M. Vyasamurthy. He is not only his teaching, his type of guidance for thesis on research, it was quite exemplary, I can say. I enjoyed it quite well, and my results were compared with other studies, and it came out quite well. And I submitted in time, and we wrote our exams. Even before writing our, just about a couple of months before writing our exams in the final year, I saw an advertisement from Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission about calling for a post or a 4 posts in Tamil Nadu Medical Service. That was mainly in Chennai, like Government General Hospital Chennai and also Children's Hospital in Chennai. And I applied for it. And even during student days itself, we had an interview, and that was based on the BSc qualification. And we were called, and we went to the interview, and it was quite good. And about nearly 15 to 20 people would have attended that interview, and the posts were about 4. And already a couple of people were working on a tenure or temporary basis. Again, I came back to the institute and attended the exam, and subsequently almost all of us, we passed the exam, and we were searching for a job. After coming home, I was staying in my village, Pangalore, for a couple of months. So I was staying home, and I spent a little time with my family members, and I started looking after seeing the doctors in and around Tirupur and Coimbatore to tell about my qualification, about my work, and the necessity of our services. So it was almost like a public education, because even many of the doctors, they did not know what speech pathology and audiology was, except 1 or 2 foreign trained ENT surgeons. And I received, within a couple of months, I received the information that I was selected for Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission. I thought that I would get the order within a few months, but somehow it got delayed, and more than 6 months I did not have any information from Service Commission. So I thought that only if I go to Chennai, I can follow the progress of our papers in the Service Commission office. So I thought that I will go to Chennai and search for some job. And one of my senior, Mr. Meghabub Shanawaz, he was already settled in Chennai with a ENT surgeon, and he had already started a school for hearing impaired and other speech disabled children. Okay, and I talked to him whether I can get a placement in his center. He said, yes, you can come and join our work. So I went there, and I had accommodation and hostel facility there in his school. So it was quite good. And I used to look after the children, give therapy, and interact with other teachers. It was quite useful at that time. Again, I had spent 1 year like that. Then I thought that I will, meanwhile my contact also widened in Chennai, and I had met other parents. One, Mrs. Lakshmi Subramaniam from Govichettipalayam. She was staying in Chennai for her daughter's problem. The child had developmental delay with Down syndrome, and she was staying there giving speech therapy, special education, physiotherapy and all that facility. So I met her for the sake of her child, and she saw our work and she was quite impressed, and she introduced me to another professional, Professor P. Jayachandran. He is a psychologist, and he was the principal of Balaviga Training School in Kilpa Garden, Chennai, where the special teachers who are working for mental retardation, he was there, and I had the contact of him, and he gave me a guest lectureship position in his training center, and also he was helpful in guiding me to contact other special schools, that is Mitra and J.D. Boas Memorial School and Vijay Human Services and Bala Kalvi Nilayam, and there is a Deepa School. These are the centers whom he introduced me. So all these centers were for mainly in the developmental delay, and that helped me a lot to get good experience in that. So though I was selected to work in Tamil Nadu Medical Service, I was not more interested in working in a special school at that time. But later in my life, that helped me a lot when I started my own school here in Coimbatore. After I went to Chennai in 1975, I worked in all these centers for about 2 years. Then in September 1977, I got the order and joined Government General Hospital, Chennai. That is the Institute of Otorhinolaryngology, and Dr. Padma Shri Professor Dr. S. Kameshwaran, and he was the director of that institute, and it was a great institute, I can say, which gave a good lot of exposure for clinical work, for teaching, research, and even the public relation. All that, it was a good center, and we had a good guidance from Dr. Professor Kameswaran, and he was the director and one of the chiefs, and we had 3 other units headed by Dr. K.K. Ramalingam and Dr. Ramdas and Dr. Swaminathan, and all of them, they had a very good clinical skill, and one important fact is that all were interested in the subject of speech language hearing and related topics. So they used to refer a lot of cases to us, and that was giving good exposure in our work. And particularly even those days, the laryngectomy and all was very rare and not much seen outside. And these people, as a good competition, every month we used to have at least nearly 10 cases of laryngectomy. Our job was quite interesting in developing esophageal voice, and we were not telling much about artificial larynx, and we were also thrilled to get the speech in those people. And voice cases, even Dr. Professor Kameswaran, whoever comes from outside, even then the president of Maldives and all, they had come to our institute, and he used to every time bring us to our department, and we used to show the pubophonic cases, pre-therapy and post-therapy, and people were quite impressed with all those results, even the hoarseness of voice and vocal cord paralysis, like that. There, the research on noise pollution were all going by Science and Technology Department, and my immediate colleague was one Mr. K.T. Jacob in the clinical work. Actually, He is my senior in Aish, and he developed very good skill about treating voice cases and all. And I learned a lot of information from him, or skill, or how to train. Okay, and we were together, and Mr. Manoharan, Rangasai, Ashok Kumar, they were all in noise research scheme, and it was a good gathering of our group, and even all the cases we used to discuss, and even the difficult to treat, we used to call their help and get their advice. So it was a very supportive to each other. And even we used to go on noise measurement sometimes. I was staying in Annanagar for some time, and then Chapak for some time. The house owners whom I lived, actually even now I am in contact, and we develop a very good relation with them. During that time, after joining the job in Government General Hospital in 78, actually I got married to Mrs. Yogavadi. She was just then economics graduate, and we were living in Chapak, and we had our first child Purnima, and meanwhile, as I was the lecturer in special education section or institute, my wife, she also wanted to qualify herself in our related subjects. So I thought that I will discuss with Professor Jayachandran, and he was willing to join my wife in the special education course. And she joined that, and she was undergoing training. And luckily at that time, my house owner, he was taking care of the kid, my daughter. And that was a great job, and they were kind enough to do that. Mr. Achudan Nair Mess, they were the people who were doing it. And what happened was, in between, I got transfer. I wanted to come to Coimbatore, that being my native place. I had earlier applied for my possible transfer. Then I got my transfer order, and I had to come and join in Coimbatore. In April 1983, I came to Coimbatore and joined Coimbatore Medical College Hospital in the ENT department as a speech therapist and audiologist. Okay, my wife did not complete the course, and we were thinking what to do. Then after a great discussion, actually she continued to live in that house, and our house owner was taking care of the child, and she attended the classes, and she completed with another 6 months, and she came to join me in Coimbatore. During my stay as a bachelor in Chennai, myself, Mr. Manoharan, Rangasai, Vijayaraghavan, we were all staying together. So all the time we were, most of the time from college days, we have been together, and that was quite interesting to share our common knowledge. When I joined Coimbatore Medical College, the chief who was working as an ENT surgeon here, he was one Mr. Vishwanathan. Then after him, I worked with many of the ENT surgeons in Coimbatore Medical College, like Dr. S.R. Harigiresan, Dr. V. Ramalingam, Dr. Rajaya, Dr. Balasundaram, Dr. Annamalai, Dr. Rajaram, Dr. S. Kaliyannan, Dr. K.P. Motilal. These are the chief ENT surgeons with whom I had worked with. Apart from Chennai, Coimbatore, Madurai, and Tirunelveli, they only had the facility at that time for speech therapy and audiology. So the patients coming to our place, it was quite from a vast area, at least 10 revenue districts we had to cover. In our daily practice, actually we used to have clinical work and the teaching of undergraduate and postgraduate students, and not only that, and we had to train the other departmental doctors also, because they were all not knowing about the services what we rendered. And I also involve myself in taking classes for special education, psychology students, and hearing impaired, mentally retarded teachers also. Because I was the only person available in the government position, actually the demand was quite high, and I had to visit other private hospitals also for their therapy requirements. And in the evening, I had my own clinic. The latter part of 83, my wife, she had come to Coimbatore, and we were continuing our practice. I was doing my practice, and my wife also started, and in her work, actually she was not spending much of time, and it was not like spending half an hour with the developmentally delayed child and expecting good improvement. So she thought that spending more time will be of use. So we planned for a school for children with mental retardation. So that's why I conceived an idea about starting a school. We took a rented building and we started a school. First, initially, my wife was there, and we had a assistant to help her, assistant teacher, and we had a servant to help the domestic activities. And we had just 3 children, and we did not have any even furniture or any big item or equipment. But actually, we had a good program to offer for these children. Actually, she learned 3 good assessment skills. That is 0 to 2 years, we were using Upanayan skill. That is testing the adaptive behavior skills. That was developed by Sanmar group of companies in Chennai. And the assessment part, the manual and the checklist, actually for language part, I and Mr. Rangasai, we both assisted in that. And we can say we were very happy that we were part of its development. Then from 2 years to 6 years, we were using another scale called Jamaican version of portage checklist. One, Dr. Thorborn, she came to India in a UNESCO program, and she was talking about that, and I attended that program, and I thought it was quite useful, and we used it, and it was a very good program because it used to assess a child on cognitive, motor, self-help, language, and social interaction. And for every age, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, up to 6 years, they had what are the developmental schedule, and we can assess this given child at what level the child is functioning, and whether it is equal to the level or it is a sub-level. And if it is not covering that, and we have to give the priority goals, and every 3 months we used to evaluate the improvement, and we were giving a program like that. And I even we modified it because some of the scales like eating spoon and all not common in India, but we modified certain items just according to our needs. And from 6 years to 18 years, we were using MDPS scale, that is Minnesota Developmental Programming System. Actually, that was developed by Professor Jayachandran, and he came back to India and settled in Chennai. So it was again modified to our Indian culture and customs, and which later it is called as Madras Developmental Programming Scale. Okay, and that was also giving, because in the Jamaican version we don't have any academics and pre-vocational, but this gives, because it is up to 18 years, it was giving a good program up to 18 years of age, and we were using that, and these three scales we prefer to use in our program for all the children, and that was quite good, and we found very good improvement in many of the children. And to start with, we had program only for mentally retarded children, and looking after our work, actually the children who came to my clinic for a hearing evaluation and all, even the hearing impaired children, actually one of the parent, he even when I said that we don't run program, full-time program for a hearing impaired, actually he wanted his daughter to join the school in our program, and we were really had great time in convincing him not to join in our school and to go elsewhere for the different program. But he was willing to join, so we had to think and arrange for a different setup or parallel setup for hearing impaired children, and we started that program also. And that's why I started the program for hearing impaired. And till then we were offering a program for mentally retarded and children with cerebral palsy, autism, and learning disability, like that. Okay. These children, they got our KRISH model. Actually, our program is catch them young, before the age of 2 years. Possibly we have to catch them and give the preschool language development program intensively for about 3 to 4 years. That is, before the age of 5 or 6 years, we have to make the child have the preschool language. Then once the child is able to learn that, then we put them in the academics, the first standard to 5th standard. And we were giving program only up to 5th standard, not more than that. Then we want to integrate the child in the regular school. Because the initial formation is very, very difficult. After that, the child will be able to cope up on his own. So that's what our philosophy, and we went in like that, and it was a successful attempt also. After 4 or 5 years, and of course we did not teach in English. We gave only program in Tamil. That was the only, because even some people, they wanted that child to learn English. We were not for it, and because that will not work out in the given local surrounding situation. Because Tamil will be at home, and school English means the parents also, not many are equipped to teach English at home. So we thought that we will stick on to only Tamil program. We selected this type of a program, and after 4 or 5 years, once they are stable with preschool language, then we trained them up to 5th standard. And some people continued with us up to 5th standard, or some people, if they are from outstation, they had to discontinue at 2nd standard or 3rd standard itself. And we helped them in getting admission in the regular school. The first few years, it was very difficult for us to join them in a regular school, mainstreaming, because many of the teachers or principals in regular school, they were not willing to join these children in the mainstream. And even personally, I visited many times to their school and convinced them, and on a conditional basis. You keep them for a few months. If they do well, it is okay. Otherwise, we'll get them back to our own program. So on this conditional item, they joined, And even sometimes the child would have learned second standard in our school, and they will join only in the first standard level. So all this trial and error, it went on, and our children were doing well, and people were willing to, if it is one or two schools, that was a problem. Then once they joined and they are doing well and their progress, and other schools were ready to follow that suit. And it was easy for us to convince the other schools, pointing out that that school has taken and they are doing well. And that's how we were successful in joining many of our hearing impaired children in a regular school. Almost all, I can say, in the category of hearing impact. But when it came to the developmental delay, only mild category of Down syndrome, we can send them to the regular school, and a couple of them, they have passed even 10th standard. But hearing impact, even many students who went from our school have taken, completed BE, BTech, and even postgraduate courses, computer courses, like that. And I'm happy that some of the students who studied in our school are in well placed. One is working in Chennai Petrochemical Limited, even Atomic Research Institute also. One boy is working, and some are working in banks, and some in revenue departments. Some are self-employed, doing their studios or small stores like that. And many people are come out as entrepreneurs, and we are very happy about to feel proud of them. And many of the children who study in our school are married and have children now, and it was a good recognition for us, and also their work also we value. Some of the students of our school, they got married among themselves, and they are having a good happy life. And not only this, along with this work, I also engage myself in industrial audiology. There is a ACC cement factory, and periodically I used to visit that hospital and check the hearing of those people there. And I used to visit other nearby cities like Tirupur, Erode, once a month like that, and give therapy there. And even in Erode, we in Lotus Hospital conducted a program to train the teachers of corporation schools to identify and rehabilitate the learning disabled children. Actually, in that program, we had a seminar addressed by ENT surgeon, pediatrician, neurologist, speech therapist, special educator, psychologist, all that. And myself and Mrs. Kalaichelvi, she was also involved in that program, and we were happy to give a good program for those teachers, and they are carrying it out quite well. Meanwhile, I used to give good lecture, even the identification of the disability program. Actually, the government of Tamil Nadu, they conducted a program for primary health center doctors, and only 2 centers were selected for training those doctors. One is Government General Chennai, and another center is from Coimbatore. In Coimbatore, that Ramakrishna Vidyalaya in Perinakan Balaya, they took up that agency, and I was part of it in teaching the speech, language, and hearing problem to those medical officers to identify and refer to the needs. Like that, I used to visit special education courses like B.Ed, M.Ed, and even a doctoral program on special education, and give guest lectures there. And I also helped many of the schools here. I along with the other agencies like Rotary Club, I developed a few schools to meet the needs of special children and give advice and to improve the available schools here. When I was working in this, one doctor, Dr. Kumar Prasad, actually he came to know the activities of our center and our work. Actually, he is the Rotarian. He came to our school one day. Even I have not met him. He is a plastic surgeon. I have not met him even earlier to that. But he said that I have seen many of your children and they are doing quite well. And we heard about your work also. So I want you to apply for a scholarship program. That is Rotary Foundation is offering 1,330 scholarship every year globally. Actually, he gave 2 applications for me and my wife to apply under the teacher of the handicapped category. Actually, they gave for agriculture, peace and other areas. Actually, teacher of the handicapped also other category. Myself and my wife, both of us applied for it, and we were not actually didn't know how, because it should be competitive and outcome we didn't know. But luckily, both of us we were selected in that. Once we were selected, actually they said that you select the university and get into the admission process. Then, actually, when I was a student in Aish, we had a professor from Memphis State University who was giving a guest lecture there. I think Dr. Beasley, if I remember correctly. Then I wanted to apply Memphis State University. Even one of my senior, one Mrs. Vasanta, she was studying there before me applying. Okay, so that's why it became very familiar, and I searched other universities, 4 or 5 universities I applied, and I got admission in Memphis State University, and I prepared for it, and with the TOEFL, GRE, everything, and with admission. And again, I approached the Rotary Club. They said it is okay. And initially, my wife applied to the Caribbean Institute, where that Jamaican version of portrait checklist was developed, and she wanted to get more training in that. And she also applied for that, but unfortunately, that institute was closed, and we had to select some other institute. Then I said to Rotary International, anyway, you are going to give some other institute, so why don't you consider her also in Memphis State University? Then they were great to consider that, and my sponsor, the Rotary Club of Coimbatore, they sponsored, recommended our transfer also. And Maurice Mendel, he was the chairman at that time there in Memphis State University. And when I had admission, then I made all preparations, and to get a NOC, to get passport and all, in our government, it took 15 months for me to clear all the bottlenecks here. And luckily it was held valid till then. And in 1989, I went to Memphis State University, and I joined my course in speech and hearing department. And my wife also joined the special education department. I was doing part of the MS program, and because of the minimum requirement, that is 17 years of education in schooling here, my wife could not get in PG admission. So she was taking courses in UG level, and main thing is that we wanted to do some advanced courses and learn and come back again, do it for our school children, because I developed this school almost like my another child. and we were had very good fascination in running that. And before going to Memphis State University, the requirement by my sponsor, Rotary Club, was that I had to learn English. So I said that I am quite conversant and able to cope up with the studies in English, but they said that it is a norm and you have to go for it. Then I went to Atlanta and joined the ELS program, that is a language center, and we were, myself and my wife, both were there for about 2 months, and that was a very good experience, and getting to know other international students, learning English, and only when we went there, we know how good we were in, or better than many other countries. And after that, I came to Memphis, and when I reached first time from Chennai to Atlanta, when I came, I expected some Rotarians to receive me in Atlanta, but we did not have anybody. But luckily, I had one member whom I did not have any acquaintance, but of course, he was from nearby my native place, and I talked to him in the night around about 7 o'clock or so, and luckily he could come and pick me up and put me in his house, and that was a very big relief. And one Mr. Govindaraj and his wife, and they were helpful in that occasion. And next day I took an apartment and stayed in Atlanta for 2 months. Then after completing the coursework in ELS Center, both of us, we came to Memphis, and there of course we had our coordinator, one Mr. Alex Talaivar. He is from actually Thuthukudi, and he was our Rotary nominee for us to take care of us, and it was a great help, and he introduced to institute and other setups there, and because the initial help is very valid and very much needed, and after that we could manage ourselves. That was a great thing, and we used to attend good classes, and I took I was prepared to spend only 2 semesters because the scholarship was for 1 year, and I thought that I will stay for 2 semesters and take up the advanced courses which will be useful for my clinical and school work. So I took up courses on cleft palate rehabilitation, stuttering, speech and language assessment, language disorders in children, oral rehabilitation, management and hearing impaired adults, learning disabilities, because they were the advanced, more needed subjects for me and for my work. So I took up that, and it was a good program. And Dr. Vorlikov, he was my coordinator in the center, and they all guided me quite well. And it was great to see Dr. Studebaker in the institute, and it was thrilling. And we were recognized quite well in our department with our already working knowledge of our subject. And we were also knowing that we were not lacking much in the learning. And it was both ways, it was quite useful. After doing my coursework, of course, before going, I had a dilemma whether to stay back there or to come back home. But most of the idea was to come back home. But actually, my family situation, my schooling, and we had more responsibilities here, so which demanded, as my parents were also aged, and I used to enjoy our culture and environment. So that gave me a more opinion to come back home. And after we reached we continued to improve our school work and our clinical work, and it was a great experience both academically, professionally, and also personally. And we could see some parts of America going on weekends, and some important centers like Disneyland and all, we could manage to go, and cabins in Arkansas, that and all. It was quite interesting, and even the setup, and we could tell our relatives, friends, and our children about our education and studies. It is mainly considered as ambassadors of goodwill for the different countries, and that was a aim by Rotary International, and their demand is also that we should come back after our studies. After attaining the superannuation at the age of 58 years, then I got my retirement from government service, Tamil Nadu Medical Service, in 2010. After that, I took 1 year part-time job in a Kapayam Medical College, a private medical college in Coimbatore, and I was doing my work, and again, because of distance, I stopped that also. I did not like to go out of Coimbatore to take up any other job, so I did not go out, and I continued my clinical work, my clinic, and my school. And in 2016, till then we had run the school for about 32 years, and it was a good experience, and we were happy that we could do something for the community, and we thought that we will take up the retirement from that also. And though I was not willing to stop doing it, my wife was willing to wanted to spend more time with the family and children and grandchildren. So without her support, running a special school, it was very difficult, because school running also, first we had in Savananda Colony in Coimbatore, that is heart of the city. Then at one stage, the children we had 125 children and about 25 teachers, and that place was not sufficient, and we had to make another unit in my own residential place near that, and we were running two places. Actually, we are not able to meet the demands in both the places, though it is in Coimbatore city. Actually, because we cannot run the school in a remote controlled method. We can run the show, but the quality will suffer. So we thought that we will not continue that mistake. Then I wound out that first started a place, because it was in the rented place. Then I have started in the my own place. Continued till 2016, and then we said that we called the parents and teachers who are in our school, and we said that we are going to close that school. If you want to run it on your own, you take up the responsibility. We will give all guidance, help, and including all the children will continue in our center. And they said that it is okay, it is a good proposal. Then they have taken a house, and they are continuing the school there, and we are giving our full support, including all the infrastructure and the professional guidance to that center. And they are also doing quite well now, and we are happy about the way we transfer the full setup. And the center, what we started, Kovai Rehabilitation and Information Services for the Handicapped, that is a KRISH. It was registered under Societies Registration Act, and we were running it with all government regulations and all. In addition to that, we wanted to start similar training program like other colleges in Coimbatore. That is a BSc Speech and Hearing program. Even when I was in Medical College Hospital, Coimbatore, I gave a proposal, but it did not materialize. And another private college, they wanted to start a program at one point of time, even before my retirement. Then I said that only after my retirement I can join you, not before that. Then they also discontinued that program. One Dr. P.C. Raju, he is a surgeon, he is running a hospital in Coimbatore. I became his friend, and he was working in Coimbatore Medical College Hospital. And when I was seriously sick in 1986, he treated me, and after that he got to know about my work and about the school and all. He was also highly impressed, and he wanted to start a training program in speech and hearing. He had his place, and even I and he, both of us, we went to Mysore to see the institute and all. And he was also highly impressed with the institute and its functioning. And he was ready to invest and do everything. But the problem was getting affiliation in the university. At that time, Madras, even MGR Medical University, did not have initiation of our course in the university. Only after that it became. And that also I cannot start. That is actually, I really regret for not starting a training center here. But we cannot succeed in everything in life. So that's a part of it. And even in the school program also, I wanted to give some rural help to rural people. So I started a community based rural rehabilitation program in my own village. And I used to go once in a month to that place to offer help freely to those people. But I went there for a year or two, once a month. But people are not valuing that also quite in a good way. So I had to stop that program also. So some of the failures also I can say, but it's okay. After retirement, actually I had more time. I thought that I will do PhD right now. And that's how after my retirement at the age of 60, then I started doing that. Actually, the topics I could have selected in our own subjects, but I wanted to do something in our Tamil language. And I was looking after so many topics. Actually, I was chairman for twice for national Ishakon conference. Actually, twice I was a chairman. Once in 1997, which was held at Coimbatore. Actually, I was the president of speech and hearing, and I took up office at that time. And the previous year, which held in Calcutta, I was selected as a president-elect, and one Mr. Sugato Bhattacharya, and he proposed my name, and I was lucky enough to get selected unanimously. And while conducting that conference, we were preparing a souvenir, and in that, when I was looking for the material, I came into Tirukkural, which was giving two topics. One is Solvanmai and Kelvi. That is speech and hearing. He has given two separate topics, 10 quarrels in each. And that gave a good insight about why don't I consider that for my PhD program. Okay, then I talked to a couple of my friends, and my guide. So I was looking for some guide in Tamil Nadu. Then I found Dr. M.P. Ravanan, and he was working in Tirunelveli Medical College Hospital, and as a speech therapist. And I talked to him. He said that yes, I am attached to Manamaniam Sundarnar University in Tirunelveli, and I am a recognized guide there. He suggested another, because if I take a co-guide in Tamil, it will be good. He'll be, because he knows all about Tirukural, and Dr. M.P. Ravanan, he knows about our subject. So I thought that it will be a good link. Then I took Professor Alagasan, head of the Department of Tamil Studies there, and he was my co-guide. And I was doing my PhD program, collected a good lot of literature, though other topics, books like Tolgapiyam and all were giving about speech and hearing. I restricted only to Tirukural, because otherwise it will be too big a topic. It became an interdisciplinary subject, and it was quite interesting. And in my studies, I actually did 2 surveys. That is how to select Tirukurals. Not only these 20 Kurals, but totally about 125 Kurals were talking about speech, language, hearing, and other sensory inputs in Tirukural. So I thought that we had to get to know more about the familiarity and the relevance of these Tirukurals. So I conducted 2 survey studies to get to know about the familiarity and the relevance of these 2 topics. After that, I submitted my thesis in the 2016. I was an active member in Asia, and usually I never miss a conference unless otherwise I had some health issues or something like that. But usually I attend many of the conferences I had attended, and I was a member of Asia for many years. And initially in early 70s, I became early 80s, I became a executive committee member. Then in 97, I became the president of Indian Speech and Hearing Association. Other recognition I had in Asia was that I was awarded Professor Padma Shri Kameshwaran Oration Award, and I received it in Hyderabad, and another Bharat Award was awarded, that is usually for all the past presidents, that was in Pune. I was awarded. I am also member of RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India, and also Indian Academy of Cerebral Palsy, all these are, and a Psychology Association. Our growth is very good and bright, and really, because what we started a seed in 68, 66, actually now it has grown big. Now thousands of people are working here. That itself illustrates the scope of our field, and we have very good scope, and it can grow in all dimensions, not only in our field, because many of the areas are still untouched. Even when I attended a faculty development program in an engineering college, because if it is a developmental program in our own science, it is okay. But engineering college, because many of the teachers, they were taking leave because of lecture, and voice restoration and all, it is a big issue in any teaching side. Like that, because if the people are, if we are able to make people understand the need about our subject and topic, and I think there will be more scope wide enough to get into that field. And even the swallowing disorders and learning disability and even music and all, still we have not touched much. I think these are the areas what we have good scope. Only thing is we have to give sincere service wherever we go. And people have to definitely, they will recognize us and they will value our work. That is more important. Because when I came to Coimbatore, only I was there. Now I think more than 40 people are working in Coimbatore. So we have to create more need that will come only because of recognition. So we have to be strong in our work and we have to prove ourselves or our merit. Then only people will hire you. And looking at our work, other friends, they can give better opportunity or another opportunity. As I said earlier, I had Mr. Manoharan as my mentor. So anybody for that matter, when we start developing, we have to focus on a mentor and we have to have good ethical practice, because we should not worry about the failures. It is a part of our life. If you feel good, you go ahead. And the budding professionals, not only we have to do our work, actually between the West and the what we lack is the documentation. Even with few patients, they make big studies. And here we have good lot of material, but we fail to make a good research project or a study or a paper or a presentation. I got married to Mrs. Yogavadi. She is a now qualified special educator, and she did all the work for the school development. And it was a great strength for me to work along with her, because otherwise I would not have definitely started the school and helped many needy children. My first daughter, N. Purnima, she also a product of AISH. She did her BSc and MSc from All Indian Institute of Speech and Hearing. She worked for a brief period in a corporate hospital in Coimbatore, Kovai Medical Center and Hospitals, and got married and lived in US for some time in Salt Lake City, and then moved to Canada. Now she is in Toronto, working as a speech language pathologist, dealing with school children. And I am proud of her, and she was willing to take up the work of speech pathology and audiology. And I told her that if you take up another profession, you will be just that. But here I can transfer all my knowledge and experience to you as a speech therapist. And she was willing to take up. She is doing well, and I'm happy about it. And with her, many of her classmates and friends also became my friends, and I am also proud of their contact. My second daughter, Mrs. N. Mangaleshwari Manjari, she is a psychology graduate, and after psychology she did clinical psychology, and she is a clinical psychologist and working as an assistant professor in a college of physiotherapy, occupational therapy and nursing at Coimbatore. And son-in-laws are into IT field, and they are from Coimbatore. My first daughter has 2 daughters. My second daughter has got a son and a daughter. All my family members are in the rehabilitation area, and I'm happy that only initially I was there, and my work inspired them to get into this work, and almost all of us, we lived along with these children in the school and other working area.